All right, well, let's kind of get started. So, Austin, I know you grew up in this church, but we have added, a good amount of members since I've been here since 2012 and even recently the last couple of years. So, I guess begin with giving people a little bit of your affiliation with this congregation.
Sure. Central Christian Church has been a pillar in my life. I was born in Waco in 1979 and became a member of the church. Instantly, my parents, Jeannie and David Dickson, have been members of the church. My dad, David Dickson, has been a lifelong member. His parents, Dick and Ann, were members of Central Christian Church and
Wow.
were the congregation that moved from downtown to Lakeshore Drive. I think that was in the 70s when that went down. And my sister and I grew up in Central. I was very active in the youth group. Tony Powell and Frank Hughes and a bunch of people drove us down to Brownsville, and Nancy Hollinger drove me to New Orleans or Baton Rouge, Louisiana for a mission trip. So Central Christian Church has shaped my life in many ways. Youth was very important to me. I was a representative of our church to the Trinity Brazos group. And then I also was a regional representative in the youth for the TBA area, what it was then called, to the Southwest region of the church. And because of those youth relationships, I went to TCU on a scholarship because of my work in the youth with Central Christian Church. I was baptized by Reverend Tommy Potter in 1989. And I got baptized in the sanctuary, which at the time was 1 year old. But
Wow.
I have fond memories of the old Evelyn Teal Center. And that was our worship service. I've had many relatives get married in the Teal Center. My sister got married at Central. I preached at Central. I went on to TCU and was a religion major and ended up getting an MDiv at Candler School of Theology at Emory University, and I'm actually an ordained minister in the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, even though I do nonprofit work these days. So Central Christian has shaped my life, my family's life, our family tree. It couldn't be more at the center of who I am as a person.
Wow. Gosh. I knew bits and pieces of that, but I didn't know that completely. That's awesome and remarkable and thank you. Okay, so I'm talking to you because you are down in are you actually in Kerrville?
Yes, I live in
Yes.
Kirkland, Texas.
Okay, so obviously the floods from last summer. Talk about um your role, what you do, and how that intersected with what happened last summer.
Yeah, on my current job, I've been in the role almost 10 years. I'm the CEO of the Community Foundation of Texas Hill Country. We're a charitable foundation that makes grants to nonprofit organizations. We award scholarships to students going to college and technical school, and we generally support the strength and well-being of Hill Country communities. We serve a 10 county area, which is about the size of Massachusetts, a
Wow.
massive rural area of Texas. And I spend my time, visiting communities like Bandera, Uvalde, Bernie, Fredericksburg, making grants for playgrounds and human service agencies and food pantries. But in times of disaster, we also activate. We raised funds after the Uvalde shooting. Tragically, in 2022,
Wow.
we raised funds for wildfires in the past, and of course, we raised funds for the flood. So I live just outside of Kerrville on a hilltop, and our office here at the Community Foundation is in downtown Kerrville. When the flood happened, it was a Friday. It was July the 4th, which was
Yeah.
a holiday. And I had in-laws visiting from the Chicago area, and we had planned a fun-filled Fourth of July weekend here in the Hill Country. Kerrville is known for its Fourth on the River concert, which was featuring Robert Earl Keen last year. It's a
Ah,
free concert down by the river in a park. We were planning to stop by that, see some fireworks, eat a hot dog, do what you do on the 4th. and we saw that it was going to be a rainy fourth, and we went to bed that night, just expecting maybe a day in the next day playing board games instead of fireworks. It was a very stormy night, lots of lightning, lots of rain. Woke up the next day. I'm not on Facebook, and so I don't get a lot of information that way. And I had a few. First of all, it was Friday, and it was the fourth, so we slept in.
Right.
We woke up at about 8:30, and like I said, we had in-laws in town. So all of a sudden, we all know when in-laws are in your house, they want to talk to you first thing in the morning. So we started talking and having coffee and talking about the rain. And then very soon we realized just through people getting texts and Facebooks that something was going on. And so I, in a concert with my colleagues at the Community Foundation, we created the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund, which is just a fund here at the Community Foundation that people could donate to online. And this is before we knew anybody was missing or hurt, but we knew that there was some property damage and that there would need to be some charitable funds to support that effort.
Yeah.
Uh, as the day went on, I found out that my grandfather's half sister's family was missing. That
Oh
one of
my
my
God.
friends, Dick Eastland, who was an owner of Camp Mystic, had died. I also, our soccer coach, had two exchange students a couple of years ago that played with our soccer coach here at Tybee High School in Kerrville, that he and his wife and two children had died. And so just bad news kept piling up, and we knew that this was going to be serious. As the days went on, donations kept pouring in. I was asked to go on television. I went on 26 different news channels to encourage the American people and, frankly, people all over the world that the easiest and safest thing to do was to make an online gift to help our community. Over the next 30 days, we raised $100 million at the Community Foundation, which set a national record for fundraising. And we needed every cent of that money because as it now has come out, we've had a catastrophic loss of life. Our senior center was destroyed. Our nature center was destroyed. Our Little League fields were washed away. Our art center was destroyed. People's homes were uninhabitable. Some were badly damaged. People were homeless. And business and economics, the whole town kind of came to a standstill for weeks. Some businesses have had trouble reopening, retaining talent and employees. And then our river is an ecological disaster zone. Not only are we still looking for two missing people, but 50% of all vegetation in the Guadalupe River Basin over a 20-mile stretch in Kerr County is completely gone, which means the river is more dangerous to flooding. We have an ecological problem on our hands. And all of the things that I've just described require funds and nonprofits and volunteers to get in there and really restore the community to something new. And so thank goodness that we have this financial resource from the generosity of the American people to steward. And so my work now is to steward well over $150 million dollars in funds to nonprofits and other organizations that are doing all this critical work of getting people home again, supporting mental health and spiritual well-being, getting the economy back going, and restoring our ecological environment.
Wow. Goodness. Well, I understand that you being on the fundraising side of things, um, I would I would venture to guess that that comes with both a decent amount of reward, but also a decent amount of challenge to I would imagine you have all kinds of requests and and sort of solicitations, and I mean I know
Everybody's
you
my
have.
friend now.
Yeah, I
Everybody's my
know.
friend.
I'm sure you got all kinds of protocols and processes in place,
Yes.
but I guess what can you name any certain thing that actually has been, let's stay on the positive side of things, especially rewarding or a win, a joy since all this happened?
There's innumerable joys. I think there's physical, tangible joys, and then there's relational joys. So our Little League had its first pitch on March 21st, completely rebuilt,
Wow.
best in class. Houston Astros, Texas Rangers, Round Rock Express, San Antonio Missions, and then a significant contribution from us. We have five brand new fields. There were 1,100 kids and parents on opening day, March 21st, for the first pitch. Our nature center is built back. Our senior center, which runs Meals on Wheels, is completely back and operational since November. We're currently designing a brand new art center. So some of our core civic assets are back and better than ever. We are offering temporary housing assistance. Uh, this morning, let's see, there are 354 people that woke up in temporary housing this morning that we paid for. We're paying people's rent and utilities for 12 months while they take a beat and figure out what's their next right step in their housing solution. We have repaired dozens of homes and rebuilt others. We have offered down payment assistance for people whose homes are uninhabitable and they can't rebuild where they are. So there's people are coming home. We are have built a mental health infrastructure in town. We've given $15 million to support the business and the economy, and we're announcing next week, maybe after this even airs, more than $10 million in environmental grants to restore the river, which is a long-term process. So there's lots of good wins. Lots of families are already back home. But I think relationally, what the flood has done in our community is um, and across the state and the country is the flood has revealed who we are
Mm.
as people and what we are capable of when we band together. And so we're learning as a community how to work across political lines or religious lines or community or county boundaries. We're also learning that we're capable of things that we didn't realize we were capable of. We can build houses faster. We can listen a little bit more patiently. If you can imagine, no two or three people can lift a piano, but if you get 10 or 12 people, they can lift the piano. And right now, we are definitely in that moment. And I think people are taken aback by how much we've been able to accomplish in these 9 or 10 months as a community because we're all working together. And the American donor and the American volunteer, much like Central, who's coming to help us, everybody's chipping in with what they got. We saw this on the fundraising side. We had biker gangs, tattoo shops, quilters, National Republican Party, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Democrats, Unitarian Universalists, Buddhists, any group that you can think of came together and donated to our fund. And people made quilts and they made t-shirts and they sold books. Somebody wrote a song and sold it on Spotify. People did 10% off at their purse store or 10% off at Torchy's Tacos.
Wow.
Whatever people could offer, people offered, just like offering in church settings. And it's been really beautiful to see how people come together in tragedy. And it has really taught me a lot about how far apart we are in normal times and how it's sad that it takes tragedy to bring us all together. So I would say that's a big win, is that I think our community is a little more patient and a little more tender with each other. It's not to say that we aren't all traumatized
Yeah.
and we're going through cycles of grief and that people are definitely needing some support and help. But I think there's a majority of people that feel closer and strengthened as a community.
One of the things I've noticed in the little bit of disaster response that I've been a part of at different churches is there is this, I think, this sort of mentality of, especially like right after it happens, of urgency in terms of everybody is well intended, of course, wants to help. How can I help? What can I do? The disciples, Week of Compassion has this thing, I think they call it like stay, pray, pay or something like that. So sort of speaks to what you're doing. Really, one of the very best things you can do is is give, and because monetary gifts help so much. That said, eventually there could be a role, a place for um, small groups like ours, churches, service groups to come in and for volunteers to come in and help. And usually that's a little bit down the road because another mark of disasters is yes, it's all in the news at first, but once eventually all the news trucks go away and in our world it doesn't take very long for that to happen, but yet the recovery is long term. Um, so I hope that there's a little bit of getting to the place where a church like ours, a group like ours, can come in and really help, and really do some things that are value added and contribute to the recovery. Um, are you starting to, how to phrase this? Are you starting to transition towards um, seeing some boots on the ground that are helping and making a difference, like what we're hoping to do in May?
Absolutely. I think early on, everybody came. And we had over 150,000 people that descended on our town of 25,000
Wow.
wanting to help. And not all of them were very helpful.
Yeah.
So, and some of it was we didn't know what was needed. And what was needed at that time was emergency work that required high degrees of expertise and
Yeah.
specialization, like clearing debris in a river or searching for people in a river, which is best left to professionals. And yet, everybody with a truck want to get down there and be a hero. And volunteer work is not about being a hero. Volunteer work is about service and living the life of Christ. And I think that there's opportunity now to do that in a couple of ways. One is that our community now knows what is needed.
Hmm.
And we are building and repairing homes. We don't need someone like me out there doing electrical work. I can do that. So we
Yeah.
need experts to do certain things. But we also, there are jobs that volunteers and teams of volunteers can do, like laying sod in a brand new house in their front yard and planting a tree that lets the donor dollar go further. It provides service to the homeowner or to the flood victim. And more importantly, it allows people who are hurting to be seen
Hmm.
and to feel that people still remember, still care, and still love on them from wherever they happen to be. And I think that is really important as a sustaining force in a community that is hurting like ours. So I think coming down this summer is right on time. I don't think it's late. I think it's exactly right. And I think coming earlier, it was a traffic cop situation where the people who were coordinating volunteers, they were overwhelmed with too many people and too much chaos. But the dust is settled now, and we have a clear sense of what's needed.
Great. What obviously you talked about like where you were and what you were doing right when it happened, and then what your focus has been since the floods, just generally right now, today, the next few days, the next few weeks, what's kind of got your attention and focus? What's on the top of your to-do list right now, personally?
Well, next week, like I said, we're announcing some grants about
Yeah.
environmental restoration, and that work is 5 and 10 year work. And so it will be really exciting. We're making some grants to plant tens of thousands of trees up and down the river, um, hundreds, thousands of pounds of seed to plant new plants and to recruit volunteers to do that patient work season after season to get the river back to a place that is safe for recreation and for visiting, as well as to restore the ecology. I'm really excited about that. In a few weeks, we're having what we call a grantee convening, where we're bringing all the nonprofits that we've granted to in one space to celebrate all the great work and results we've achieved together. We have so many local people who are what we call case managers,
Mm,
meaning they're local people that are paid by the community foundation. They work at a local nonprofit like a church, and they're working with 10 to 15 families in their recovery journey, getting them whatever it is that they need. Do they need a tool belt? Do they need rent? Do they need their home repaired? Do they need mental health services? Do they need a fence repaired? And the case manager works with that family on all of their needs over a protracted period of time. And that's hard work. It's about setting boundaries. It's about level setting. It's about describing a new normal. And it's about saying yes and saying no and what you can do for families. So we're going to bring all those people together to really build them up and thank them for their service and get them strong and excited because the work still continues. So I'm really excited about that. And then lastly, we've commissioned a film called Hope for the Guadalupe, which will be debuting on PBS in June. And so you'll be able to see it right there in Waco. And it documents all of the environmental stewardship that we're doing. And also, the last thing is we have a huge press conference in June to share with the American people how many homes we've rebuilt and how many people we've gotten home so far. And I think we're going to blow people's minds by how much we've been able to rebuild our community in less than a year with the power of volunteers and philanthropy.
wow. Well, I remember the days, weeks, months, maybe days, weeks after the flood, just checking in with your dad, and I wanted you to know, and I guess it was sort of going through him that I could only imagine what you personally were going through, and to just let him know we're praying for him. I might have I might have sent you a quick text because I remember I remember he said, "Yeah, you can reach out to him. Text is best." Because he's going through it, and I just I guess I would sort of wrap this up by saying thank you for your service and for all that you've done. And I can only imagine how the times you might have grown weary and gosh, all the hours you poured into this, and thank you for all you've done and for being the boots on the ground. I think this connection that you have to our church and to us is really cool. I see the movement and direction and work of God through a lot of this. And I think a big part of that is a lot of the things you've been doing. So thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. And I'd like to turn it back and say thank you to Central. I've done a lot of interviews lately about like how all this came together and what about you? Where did you go to school? How did you learn how to this or that, the other? And in times of crisis, our character is revealed to us. And our character is built early on before any classes we can take or any degrees we can go get. And my character was formed at Central Christian Church through these service projects that you guys are considering going on, through families and kids that we were all grew up together. Um, who I am as a person is because of that. There's nothing else that has shaped me other than my family of origin and my school that I went to in Central Christian Church. So I just want everybody to know that you are actively engaged in building the next leaders that, when called upon, will have their character revealed and they will have to take action. And I appreciate all you've done for me. Thank you.